Hi, I'm Josh. I'm the Warden for Essex Wildlife Trust Langdon. We are one of the biggest inland nature reserves and we have over 451 acres of land which we manage. Around about 100 acres of that is species rich grasslands, and we are going to today take a tour around Langdon and we're going to look at the different meadows and we're going to see some different species and any other interesting things that we could find. So I'm standing in my favourite meadow, and this meadow is Flaxfield. There's a couple of reasons why this is my favourite meadow, so we're going to have a quick look around. So this is Flaxfield. As you can see, it's your standard wildflower meadow with your usual species, and it's mainly all down the bottom where the fishing lake is, which is where that white sign is in the distance. I'm standing in the tops of Flaxfield, and as you can see, it's a slightly different habitat up here. It looks a little bit different than your usual meadow, and this is because this is fen meadow, and this is noted in our SSSI, and it's a very interesting feature to have. So all of the little spiny stuff speaking up, it's not grasses, it's sedges and rushes, and there's a whole mixture in there. At the moment, this bit looks a little bit boring because there's not much flowering apart from your usual culprits, which is your buttercups. So in late summer, around about August, September time, the whole margins of this field have this lovely milky blue colour, and that is devil's bit scabious. I've just come into home field and seen what interesting species we've got in here, and we've got quite a lot of yellow rattle, and yellow rattle is a species that parasites grass, and it can reduce the grass in the meadow by up to 50%. So normally farmers don't like this, but in wildflower meadows we absolutely love it. And when it dries out, once the seeds are in it, if you give it a shake, it sounds like a rattle. We've also got, over in the back, some Oxide Daisies, and these kind of grow up the first year, and then the second year they flower and set seeds, so they're a biennial. And as you look through the meadow, there's lots of lovely grasses. So I just had to stop the camera and wander down to home field. I am going to be stopping and starting the camera quite a bit because the size of Langdon, the video would be just hours of me wandering around looking for things. So we have these unusual strips in our meadow, and we've named them the nice simple name of the Grizzle Skipper strips. And these pretty much are on a nice south facing slope, so you get the heat, and they are designed so that we can leave areas of uncut vegetations for the Grizzle Skipper to lay its eggs and then go through its cycle and have its food plant easily available to it, and that should hopefully encourage larger numbers. So we have these strips, and what we do is we cut one and leave one and repeat that, and we go quite a far way down with them. And then after the season is over, we then come in and then we cut the alternate strips. So these big scrubby bits will disappear, and these more grassier bits will be left to scrub up. So this is Fred and this is George. They are Jerseys, they are hand-reared calves that the graziers had. They are really friendly. They are like having a dog. They do love having a little bit of a scratch as well. They're very tame. They're currently in 3 pond field, and the idea is they're on here having a very light spring graze, just keeping the grasses at bay. And as you can see, some of the nettles and the ruderals have all taken hold. So we'll be another couple of weeks, and then these guys can go off and have some nice fresh grass. So if you go through the Greatberry Meadows, you come towards Molly's field. So as you can see, it backs onto the housing estate, and it's pretty much the same as the Greatberry fields, where it was an arable field that's been left to go and planted up with a seed mix, and all we've really got is quite rank grasses and the buttercups, and then we've got the planted shelter belt at the back. But if we look as we pan round, on the right hand side there seems to be less grasses and it seems to be less lush. This is because the right hand side of the field was actually scraped for housing, and by taking off that top layer of topsoil, it creates an area with less nutrients. Now this is quite cool because we end up with a completely different looking meadow. So this is more of your wildflower meadow that you'd expect to see. And if we look down, the species get a little bit different. So we've still got the buttercups, but we've got some red clover which has come out, which is quite cool. There is bird's foot trefoil, which I have spotted, which is just over here. So it's bird's foot trefoil. And then if we look through the meadow, you can see it's much more finer grasses. So There's cocksfoot, there's false oak grass, there's foxtails, there's quite a lot of stuff, and we get quite a lot more inverts living in this. So we get our bumblebees and stuff like that, and as you can see, there's a bumblebee enjoying some red clover. Also, we get some interesting ones, like this time of year, you can see the white froth that is dotted around on there. So I'll just pan down a bit, and you can see that is cuckoo spit, and in there is a frog hopper nymph, and that's how they protect themselves. So overall, quite a cool meadow really. It goes from a quite sparse, very herb rich, to a very rank grass rich. So we're now in Parkfield. This is the top section of Parkfield, which we kind of have a non-intervention way of looking after it. So we don't really do much in here. We will come in here and we will pull the creeping thistle, which can cause a little bit of an issue throughout the field, and can choke. We've got it down by about 80%. There's a few clumps of it which I can see in the back, which we'll have to come out and pull. So cows on here, and then we go on with the sheep, and we pretty much leave it to it, and it's doing very well. So I am now standing in Rough Piece, and Rough Piece is a very large meadow. I can't remember the exact side off the top of my head. It gets its name because it's not a square, it's just a rough shape on the land, and it's been a hay meadow for quite a long while. There's quite a lot of interest in this meadow. It gets a lot of interest in the press. Lots of people want to come and take the seed and use it elsewhere. It is recognised as the Queen's Jubilee Coronation Meadow, and some of the species we find, you can see on the brow, which is the Oxide Daisies. We've got the buttercups in there. We get a little bit of ragged robin, a mixture of grasses, and then we always get a nice blousy orchid popping up. So there's interest all year round. So hopefully you've enjoyed having a wander around Langdon, looking at our meadows.